Hits Radio. Joy 99.7.
Keep this frequency clear.
I love this station.
Joy.
Well, hello there. Good evening and welcome. It's another Wednesday. Time flies by so quickly, but we're here again. This is Strong and Sassy on your superstation Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Animwaa Anim-Addo, and tonight we're having a conversation that came about because a few weeks ago, or I think it was last week, we heard about the Kenyan Olympic runner whose boyfriend poured petrol on her and set her on fire because they had some sort of disputes about land. And it got me thinking and wondering that, was this behavior out of the blue? Was it something that she hadn't seen signs of, or she hadn't seen red flags? Was this something that he had always been a little bit prone to violence? Was he abusive? All of those questions obviously can never be answered now, and may her soul rest in peace. But of course, it brings to mind why women stay in abusive relationships. And so tonight, that's the conversation that we're going to have. Why do women struggle to walk away from relationships that are abusive? Now, I know that men are going to come for me and say, we're not talking about male abuse and we're not talking, and I get that. But this is what we're talking about tonight. So maybe we'll have a show about, men being abused, and we do acknowledge that men are abused as well. So joining me tonight, Dr. May Cullen Wolf Caesar. She's a consultant clinical psychologist and the Greater Accra Regional Rep of the Ghana Psychological Association. It's my first time. It's your first time on the show.
Yes,
so thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
We're very grateful that you're here. We also have Deborah Tayo Akatbo. She's the head of programs, Gender Studies and Human Rights Documentation Center at the Gender Center. She'll be joining us on the phone lines. And we have Mimi Andani, who is on her way. She's an entrepreneur and entertainment analyst, and she will share her story of abuse with us when she gets here. So, Doctor, does it have to be Wolf Caesar, or just be okay? So, Dr. Wolf Caesar, let me start with you. So,
just Dr. May is fine.
Dr. May, okay, Dr. May. So, I mean, did you follow the story of the lady?
Oh, this is the first time I'm hearing about it, but not the first kind that I've heard about.
Oh, okay. So, what can you imagine from your experience? What could potentially have led up to that point, where a woman loses her life because of some sort of domestic abuse or domestic event?
Oh, you were asking some very important questions, anyway. You were saying, were there signs? Very likely there were signs. I mean, people don't suddenly turn on their partners, romantic partners, and set them alight. So there must have been signs. But then women or men tend to stay in relationships that are abusive simply because they don't think there's anywhere else to go. And then their partner isn't always abusive.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So it's like, I slap you today and tomorrow I bring you flowers. And then you start to think, oh, he is a nice guy. So it must be something I said. He probably won't do it again. And then he does it. And he'll find an excuse for why he did it. So yes, there are reasons that people stay in these relationships. But then, of course, setting someone alight is a bit extreme.
Yeah,
A lot extreme.
it is. It's. I mean, and she died, and then he burned himself as well. But you said something that today he's slapping you or hitting you. The next day he's buying you flowers, and I can imagine that it must be difficult if this is someone that you love to accept. You know how we women are fixers, and we feel like it's going to be okay, and I'm gonna pray him into his deliverance. So I'm gonna do this, and I mean, so starting from that point, how does a woman begin to deal with a situation when somebody that she loves is showing signs of being potentially harmful?
Okay, so from my experience with people in this situation, it starts off beautiful. So then for these women, or the majority of these women, this man comes into your life, or this woman comes into your life, and she's very attentive, very loving, okay? And they usually appear when you are at the lowest point of your life. So they bring you up. They make you feel good, okay? They make you feel loved. They validate your feelings. Other people have never understood you, but they understand everything you're saying, okay? So you get sucked in. In psychological terms, we say you get hoovered in, in a way, all right? So you're falling in love, and you're seeing these signs, but because majority of the time they are nicer to you than other relationships you've been in. And mind you, many women who find themselves in these situations have been in abusive relationships before. They might have even come from abusive homes, seen their father behave the same way towards their mom. Okay, so then they see this happening, and like you're saying, they're the saviors, they're going to save this guy, because deep down he is a good guy. He made me feel good about myself. So then if he's suddenly hitting me, it's probably because he's frustrated at work. And so it becomes my duty to ease his frustration. And if I'm going to be his punching bag, why not?
Wow.
If that will make him feel better.
I don't know how do we, is it a way of thinking that allows us to survive, or allows us to run away from the loss that we would feel in walking away from the person? Because how do you how do you make that
you
make
hit the nail on the head. I've had women say to me, I'm probably never going to find somebody who will love me as much, simply because, you see, like I said, most of these people have not felt loved. Okay, so they're coming in with so many emotions of self-hatred. And yes, self-hatred is very, very important here. So when somebody says, no, you're better than you think you are, it makes them feel like, yes, that person is God's gift to them. So then why would you turn away God's gift? But because deep down they have no self-worth, or very little self-worth. Okay, so it's like, I'm not going to get somebody else to love me. The devil is better than the angel you don't know. We say things like this. Okay, and then again, we've been socialized to think that once in a while a man will turn his frustrations on you. Okay, most people have grown up believing that it's just, he doesn't mean it. It just happened. Men are aggressive. They don't intend to hurt you, so you let it pass. You go home and tell your mom or your dad, he probably say, well, one of those things, they'll call him, they'll brush his face, like they say in the local parlance, brush his face, and he'll do something nice for you, and then it's actually swept under the carpet. So then the next time, you probably won't go and tell your mother again, because this is what's going to happen. So then it continues and continues till eventually someone gets hurt badly.
You made a point earlier that most people who are abused either saw their fathers abuse their moms, or they've been in abusive relationships. So is there some sort of magnet for attracting abusive partners?
I'm going to get into trouble for saying this, but I will say it.
Okay.
Okay. So we do have people, like I said, who are prone to this getting attracted to people like that. Okay, so there are people who might have a fear of abandonment, fear of neglect. So you have a partner, a spouse, a romantic partner showing you affection. There's that fear that they'll go away. Now, because of this, they tend to gravitate towards those who show them love, shower them with attention. Okay, validate their feelings, like I said earlier. Now, what they don't know is most of the time, these people who are showering you with love are also out there looking for someone to admire them.
Okay.
So when you put them up there on the pedestal, they will give you what you want. And then when they've sucked you in, when you're part of them, there's this bond that has formed. So even when they start being abusive, it's what we call the trauma bonding. You're so connected to the person that you can't see yourself leaving them. Recently I had one young lady, she was so worried about the man who had been abusing her psychologically, physically, and he's threatening to kill himself. And so she's worried, if I don't go back, he will kill himself. You know, and in that moment you tend to forget all that he's put you through. And let me stop saying he put you through, what she has put him through, because I have seen the reverse as well. Where the wife was the abuser. You know, so we've seen the psychological abuse where the individual is making you feel like nobody will take you back. You're not good enough. I made you who you are today. You know, I changed your casing. Let me put it that way. So yes. So why would you want to leave? Because they've eroded your self-esteem. You start to believe it, and you stay on.
So, is there a part of us women sometimes where we feel like the abuse? I'm using passion very lightly.
Okay.
But the passion that comes with abuse, because I spoke to a woman once, and she was talking about when, you know, she and her husband fight and he's shouting and he gets abusive. It's like, that's the only time that I'm really able to get emotions out of him. It's like I have his full attention. He's focused on me. Because we're fighting and it's toxic. And why do we do that? Why do we translate that to be, you know, then he must be passionate about me if, you know, he's putting this much energy into fighting, or, you know, all of that. And how do we heal that? Because I've heard that story so many times.
I actually heard it this afternoon.
Okay.
But you know, the funny thing is, I have found that the men put this message across. Okay? So I love you, and that's why I'm so concerned about you. It doesn't start by, that's why I'm being abusive. It says, that's why I'm so concerned about you, that you're going to make a fool of yourself. I don't want you embarrassing yourself. Meanwhile, he's already started with abuse, the psychological abuse, breaking you down by telling you that if you don't know how to think for yourself, okay, so we get that coming from our fathers, we get that coming from our brothers, and then we imbibe these things. So then if a man is showing us any kind of emotion, it means he's not numb. It means that there's some parts of him that really cares about you. And because you've been starving for some kind of attention, any kind of attention, even if it's abuse. And then again, you look at the definition of abuse or abusive relationships, and it says any relationship that comes with violence or cruelty or force or something, you know. So your man pushes you on the bed and says, I want to take you right now. Well, if he didn't want you, he wouldn't, right? So you don't look at this part of it that is clearly violence or clearly cruel. You see it as he wants me.
And it's urgent.
And it's urgent, and I have to satisfy him.
Yeah.
Exactly. It starts from a very early age. I mean, let's be honest. How many times when you were younger, didn't you get a guy tell you, look what you done to me?
Yeah.
You know, because he has this.
Yeah.
And then you're made to feel guilty.
Yeah.
You know, so the abuse already starts, and we
In that
kind of
very
take it.
subtle,
Yeah, very
yeah.
subtle, and we take it.
Wow, okay. That was very enlightening. Thank you so much. Mimi is here. Hi, Mimi. Please pull the mic. Okay. We're happy you could make it. It's been crazy in town, right?
Yes,
Travel.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
I
yeah.
live far though, so.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here. We were just talking to Dr. May about the different, reasons why women stay and all of those things. But I would love to hear your experience
Oh,
and what that was like, what your experience was, and what life is like now for you.
okay. For me, I'd like to concentrate on emotional abuse and not physical because I've never experienced a physical abuse.
Okay.
But as Africans in general don't know, but most know, but they don't want to accept, emotional abuse is worse than physical. It can kill you instantly. Physical, you just get the pain and then it's gone. Sometimes, if they don't kill you physically, emotional takes a lot of tolls on you because it can transcend to your kids, how you bring them up, and all of that. Why women stay, I think one is religion. Religion is a big canker all over the world. It causes a lot of havoc. So first of all, people are brought up in a home where their mom stayed. Their grandmother stayed forever. And so for them, it's a no-brainer. You have to stay. Once you leave, it's biblically wrong. And the problem with the religion is, for example, the Christian religion has a lot of denominations. And these denominations have different meanings of whatever the Bible says. When you go to a Catholic church, the same word is interpreted different from when you go to a Pentecostal church or a charismatic church or holiness type of church. And so they will say that divorce is not good because when you divorce, then you will not make it to the kingdom of God. Or divorce, when you divorce, some other doctrines say that when you divorce, then you can remarry because it's biblically wrong. Then another says you can. It's just a confusion. And so most women, when it comes to religion, they just want to be like their grandmom or their mom. If my mom didn't stay, I wouldn't be here, and all of that. But this is what I say. When you say you are staying for your kids, it amuses me. How do you want to stay abused for the kid? You have to live for those kids to live. I don't understand that concept. If you don't live, if you are not alive, then your children are going to suffer. Yeah. So that concept of I'm staying because of my kids, where did people get that from? I can't fathom. Sometimes
when it comes to abuse.
Yeah, when it comes to abuse, like yeah. I'm staying because of the kids. How? You have to be mentally sound to bring up kids. So if you are not mentally sound and you're going through emotional stuff like depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and you're saying you're staying in the marriage because of your kids, you're rather worsening the situation. This is why we have a lot of kids on social media misbehaving. We have all these type of kids because their parents stayed abused. So they weren't mentally sound enough to bring up a child. So they brought up the child wrongly. That's why we have such kids roaming about. Because you decided to stay in your mind thinking that staying meant that you were staying for your kids. No. Living is for your kids and not staying when you are being abused, whether physically or mentally. You have to leave because you have to be sound enough to bring up children to be productive in this world positively. So therefore, you have to be sound to bring up kids. And in African homes, mostly who brings up children?
The mothers. Because
they are always with us. The men are not always there. So you have to live so you can take care of the kids. Another reason is the fear of starting all over again. Most women are either not empowered or not empowered enough to take care of kids. So when I leave, how am I going to take care of these 3 kids, 4 kids? Even my salary cannot afford to pay 2 kids school fees and 3 kids school. So how am I going to, who is going? Because I have to stay because the man will support me and all of that. So that's one of the reasons. Because women are either not empowered or not empowered enough. So they will stay because of financial reasons. And also some women might be empowered, but they are so scared to start. People are very scared to start all over again. So I'm going to move out of here. I need to find a place, start my life again. Which man is coming for me with these 2 kids and 3 kids? So selfish. You're thinking about yourself. and your emotional whatever you get from other men, instead of thinking about your well-being that will help you take care of kids that you've brought into the world, that if you don't bring them up, you are going to cause maniac to the rest of the world later in future when you are gone. You will leave armed robbers and liars and whatever in the system whilst you are gone. You're not thinking about that. You're being selfish. You're thinking about how you are not going to get a man because you have 3 kids and all of that. So these are some of the reasons I have come to understand that it's making people stay in marriages instead of leaving. For me, I said I left marriage before I actually left. And I always tell women when I meet them, don't just pick your bag and leave. You have to leave before you leave. And I was sitting in marriage for 2 years. I was not there. So I dealt with all the depression, the emotional, whatever, in that 2 years when I was preparing to leave. Because you have to be prepared. That is why you are scared to go, because you are scared to start all over again because you don't have a plan. You need to have a plan. Stay in the marriage, act it up, have a plan. Because if I'm talking about being abused, not just leaving a marriage. For leaving sake.
And where your physical life is not in danger.
Yes. I'm talking about when the situation is dire. You have to have a plan. When I leave, what is going to... So for me, for the last 2 years of my marriage, I was already gone. It was all the planning stage. When I leave, where would I live? Actually, I got the place 6 months into. I made sure that everywhere was set, my kid where she would be. I did all that whilst I was in marriage. I even took the money from him to do some. You have to be smart because you have to plan to live. You just don't get mad and take how people leave marriage. They just take about mad and you go, no, that's dumb. You need to be smart as a woman. Plan and then live. So for me, I left 2 years before I physically left. When I was leaving, I was mentally fit, mentally strong, ready, because I had dealt with it 2 years before. So like I'm saying, if you're going through such abuses and you want to leave, plan. The reason why you can't leave is because you are not planning and you just want to get up and leave, and so you are scared of how to start all over. Start in the marriage. Whilst you are there, start, plan. So if I left, what would I do? Where would I live? How would I do this? Even if you need to add up a business, start adding up that business whilst in the marriage. Tell your partner this, I need to support. Find an excuse. Be smart. You have brains. Use it. Then when you live, you are fit. So you won't be scared to start all over again. Me, living marriage was so easy. It was just like a walk in the park. And I didn't even feel like I left because my life was intact. Emotionally fit. I planned it.
Let's talk about the emotions, because you said so you used 2 years, to plan where you live and all of that. So at which points did you start to withdraw yourself emotionally?
That's what I'm saying. For the 2 years, I started withdrawing.
How did you do that? Because people don't know how to
You just do. There's no formula. This is not working. You are being abused. If you don't take care, you are going to die. Or you're going to be sick enough not to take care of kids that you brought into the world. Let's forget about kids. Even if you don't have a kid with the man, you, as a person, still have a life ahead. And you need to live to fulfill those dreams. And then the world needs you. Just being married is not enough. That is not what life is about. The world needs you to do other things. And so if you're not emotionally stable and it is worrying you, I went through depression, panic attacks, anxiety. I went through a lot.
Did you get therapy?
Yes, I did. I did get therapy for 2 years without even communicating it to the partner. I was dealing with everything myself. Because you can see that this is the end of the road, but you are forcing it. It's done. And when it's done, it's done. This is not going to. So this is a narcissist. And these narcissist traits are very common on the continent. In fact, men don't even believe that they are narcissists. They have all the qualities, but they'll tell you what is narcissism.
Because we throw the word around a lot.
Yeah.
The slightest thing a man does, he's narcissistic. So sometimes it's like we diagnose them. Yes, like when they cheat, they are this. Hey, you do this, you're a narcissist. Hey, you're not, without actually.
But most African men have the trait.
So let me interrupt you.
It's from our
let me
I'm
interrupt you and let me speak to Dr. May
Okay.
so that she tells us
So
a
she's
bit
a
more
doctor,
about
narcissist.
so that you are not listening to us and you go and diagnose
Someone.
somebody's son with yeah.
So anyway, I'm very glad that you threw in this caution. You see, because before we can give someone a diagnosis, you should meet the criteria.
Yeah.
Okay, so you need more than one symptom, more than
Traits.
one sign
Okay.
of narcissism before we can call you a narcissist.
Okay.
So if you have a husband or a boyfriend who disrespects you or gaslights you or manipulates you, these are the terms we use these days. Yes. And so you think that person is a narcissist. Not necessarily. Okay.
It's deeper than that.
That person must meet 4 or 5 other criteria.
Okay. Do you want to run us through some of them?
Yes. So we're very familiar with the grandiose type.
Okay.
So the grandiose narcissist believes that they're better than everybody else.
Okay.
You know, they look down on people. They can look down on their spouses. They even look down on their mothers. I've seen that happen. And then, of course, they have little respect for people they think are not on the same level.
Okay.
Okay. And it's because it's actually a personality disorder.
Okay.
It's enduring, meaning that it's for life.
Wow.
And it's also pervasive, meaning that it's going to appear in different contexts. And then it also impairs functioning. It affects how you function socially, occupationally, interpersonally. It's going to show. You know, so this individual who feels they're more important than you are, or that they should move with people of a similar class or whatever, yes. But you see, one thing about the narcissist, again, psychologically, we know that they're coming from a bad place.
Yeah.
So when we see somebody exhibiting these behaviors, we are more interested in finding out
In the
why.
trauma that-
Exactly. What led to these feelings. Sometimes their self-esteem is actually at rock bottom. Many times their self-esteem is down there. But they need to make you feel small in order to feel important. And as I mentioned earlier, there are some people who gravitate towards these people. These are those who also want to have their feelings validated.
Yeah.
And so you're going to get this person who will make you feel like you're Miss World or Mr. Universe.
From the
So
beginning.
that, right from the start, so that you can start looking after them. And then they get the admiration, you get the validation. And then at some point, when you start to feel like, okay, I like myself now, I feel like I'm a person of worth, what message are you sending to this partner who feels like they made you?
So now you think you're all that.
Yes,
I'm
so
gonna
what are
break
they?
you
Shop
down.
liver?
Yeah.
Exactly. So then the abuse can start to bring you back to where you were
Yeah.
when they feel they brought you up. So you have this cycle. So you stay on because then they made you feel that you're not important. I made you. And you see, she was talking about the psychological abuse as being more painful, you said, more damaging. And that's true because nobody can see what's going on. If somebody's eroding your self-esteem all the time,
Yeah.
right?
It can't be seen.
Yes, and you hear statements like, oh, I keep telling her that she's intelligent. She just doesn't know how intelligent she is. Meanwhile, as soon as we get home, everything that I do, you're going to question. You're going to criticize.
Yeah.
So then I start doubting myself. You know what I mean? So that's part of the abuse. But because we go out, you make me look good, why would I leave you? You know, so it's a back and forth
It's tough.
situation.
It's
Very
tough.
tough.
Yeah.
You need to
You
be
know, so when you
tough-minded.
talk about the abuse, we're looking at the physical abuse and the emotional abuse. The physical abuse, you might get people say, okay, leave. But the emotional one, nobody's seeing it.
They don't even understand you.
You know, that some men will even deprive their partners of sex. And nobody will know.
Yeah.
You know, and these things happen.
And if you go and tell somebody, they'll tell you
Oh,
about what are you doing? How do
Exactly.
you make yourself
What did
more
you do for
attractive?
him?
How do you
Yes,
do this?
exactly.
What
So then
do
it
that?
becomes
They
euphoric
tell you
all over
burden,
again.
yeah,
Uh-huh. So it's good to understand where this person is coming from. If they need to feel admired, why? You know, and sometimes it's their own mothers who made them that way. You know, so therapy helps. Of course, the narcissist will not on their own walk into a therapist's office, but if they feel like okay, they do want to maintain this appearance of being in a happy marriage, they might follow their spouse.
Doctor, it's very uncommon.
It does happen. I do have clients like that.
Few.
But the thing is, it's when they also have an image.
They don't even understand. They don't
You
want
see.
to even accept it.
When they
That's
have
what
an image.
Doc is saying that. So they're not actually doing it because they think there's something wrong with them, but they're doing it because I don't want to lose you. You are saying we should go. I don't want the world to think that I have
Yes.
a bad marriage or I'm a bad person. So I'm just following you and I'm going.
Yes.
Like I'm
But
saying,
then-
those are few. The ones.
Yeah, most of them
they don't
won't
care.
go.
And do whatever. Like they won't go to a psychologist. They won't. They will say me. There's nothing wrong with me. The
Oh,
problem is
usually
you.
they do tell you.
The problem
But
is
again, if they have more to lose than a marriage, that's what I mean.
Yeah, I
You
guess
see, a public image sometimes is more important,
I get it. When it
especially
comes to
if
public figures
yes.
and all that.
So they would go, and it's not just the men; it's the women as well.
yeah.
You know, so we have to look at it both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Mimi. I'm sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to
No, that's fine.
talk about the narcissist. Yeah,
It's
but
fine.
please.
I am
go
very
on.
sure of the narcissist trait because, of course, I'm not a medical doctor, but I have a medical field.
Okay.
So I've done a little bit of and I also researched, so I know the traits. I know it. All the things she said, I already know them. So it's not just about manipulating and gaslighting. There's more to it. There's this constant.
Why do you know it? Is it because you were in a relationship and somebody was behaving a certain way, so you're like, I need to Google why this is happening? Is that what
Yes,
sparked
I kept
the-
having repetition of personality. So I said,
What's repetition of personality?
like I date this person, I find some
Okay.
similar traits.
So you okay?
The traits. I'm
Okay.
like,
Okay.
why are these men like this? That's when I started researching, and
Okay.
this is like 5 years ago. I started researching about those personality traits. Then I found out there was not something called narcissism. Then I started reading about it, listening to psychologists like doctor on social media, doctors, not just people on social media talking, but clinical psychologists, their pages and all that for so long, and I began to understand the traits. But I know that my partner will never accept that. I suggested, if you think I'm lying, no problem. Can we just go see the person who can say I am wrong? Then we can move forward. No, there's nothing wrong with you. You are just whatever. You think you've studied too much. You are just, they'll just tell you something. And so yeah, for me, even if it's not about narcissism, it's just an emotional abuse. Forget
No, I
about the
get that.
narcissist
Yeah.
traits or whatever. But the emotional abuse was so much and it was draining. And
How
so
many years were you in?
I was married for 8 years, together for 13 years. So
So when did it start?
oh, I think that when I started realizing it, then I realized that it was from the beginning, but I ignored it.
Okay.
It was from day one, but I just ignored it.
What were some of the things that were
Some
there
of the
from
traits
day one?
are constant. I don't want to call them lies, but a picture that is not always the picture, but it is made for you to see that this is the picture. Then later, cry, you realize that that's not it. I don't want to
Okay.
call it lies. I don't know what doctor will call it, but there's always a picture that has been painted. But at the end of the day, it is not that picture. Constantly, for 13 years, when I'm mad and I'm talking to the person, I call the person a liar. But then psychologically, they might have a name for it. But somebody painted a picture, and then you go by that picture, and at the end you realize that that's not the picture.
Okay.
Manipulation there, oh, it's a walk in the park. Gaslighting there, no, it's done daily. You understand? And demeaning, when a man can tell you that, yes, she ma papa. You've met women. So calm down, calm down. Like when you argue with your husband, he's telling you, women who calm down, trying to demean you. Then when you're watching TV with your husband, then he'll be complimenting certain physical looks of certain women on the TV, which is not the features you have. Trying to, like, how does a husband do that to you? I know what I'm talking about, and I know what I went through. And then when you are highly educated than the person, and the person is always using your qualification against you.
How do you even do that?
Like, I'm describing something for you people to understand what I went. Like, who do you think you are? And then what? And so if you're a biochemist, so what? I have not done this, but I've achieved that. In fact, I am the one who brought you into this. You brought me into something, but you didn't give me the brains.
Yeah.
I was smart enough to achieve it because I am smart. You didn't give me the brains. You didn't give me my grades. You didn't make me a biochemist. I had to be smart to be a biochemist. You can't tell me nothing. Like, I have a very strong personality. If not for my personality, I would have died of depression. I have a very strong personality. It's very difficult to bring me down. My confidence is 1001%. I can walk in a room with tattered clothes full of women dressed in Gucci and whatever, and my confidence will be 1,000 more than any of them. And when I open my mouth, everybody would listen to me and not you in the Gucci. And that is who I am. So if not for that, I wouldn't have survived it. I survived it for 8 years. No woman can do that.
Why did you stay that long?
Hoping for the best. And always talking about, I was just hoping till there was no more hope.
Was there a moment when you were like, it's never going to change?
At a point, I thought maybe the person had a mental problem.
Well, if it's narcissism, it is a mental problem.
Okay. Yeah, but I was like, what the man? Like, I'll just be telling myself, you're correct. Like, the kind of things, and most men do it, and then they just think it's normal. And he's not the only person I've met with a trait like that. And I'm like, God, why am I attracted to these people? Doc, you tell me.
Exactly. So that's what I was saying. That there are some people who gravitate. And that is another personality disorder too.
Really?
Yes. So there are those who want to.
There's the difference between gravitating to it and you being attracted to them. Aren't they two different things?
Well, you're
Not
attracted,
really,
so
it's-
you move towards them. And when you
That's
mention
what you
that,
pick. That's
yes,
what you
I
choose.
always pick them.
Exactly.
I
gravitate
don't know
towards-
why.
yeah.
Yes, because you are looking for something that they give you.
What is it?
You want validation sometimes. Because you're saying that your self-esteem is very high. But there's a reason why you meet all these narcissistic men. Because they make you feel good about yourself. So even though you do have a lot of self-esteem, high self-esteem, there is something missing that they, that missing piece that they put there for you. And that's why. So that's why you were there. Pardon me for saying this, for so long, because he was fulfilling a part of you that was missing. You know what I'm saying? Because if you see danger, you go into a relationship and you see the red flags, you run. You run. But to stay in, you get married, have a first child, probably have a second child, and you're saying you were hoping he would change. So that's the hooking we're talking about. You were seeing these things. Probably there were times you would leave, give yourself some space. I don't know. But emotionally or whatever. But then you get hoovered back in because something is good. You see, so that's why we stay. That's why we're in these relationships. That's why there's the bond. And it's a codependency of some sort. So if you get to that point where you say enough is enough, I'm walking away. Truth be told, many times somebody else has crossed. Somebody else might have paid you some other attention, which is
I mean, not
more.
necessarily.
I'm not saying you. Yeah, I'm
this
saying
is like a
yes.
general.
I
Yeah.
understand.
Because then you need some motivation
To move.
other than this.
Unless, of course, you've been going to therapy and you've healed.
Yes, and even then with the healing, what's exactly is the healing if your partner isn't healed? If your
Yes.
partner, and if you have again, truth be told, I said that these things are enduring. So what you learn in therapy are skills to cope. Okay, it's like having hypertension or diabetes. There's no cure, really.
Yeah.
You just manage it.
So we're never cured from our personality disorders.
We just
If it's a
manage.
disorder, we're managing it.
Yeah.
The same way your personality.
Yeah.
So personality disorders, are we born with them?
Personality disorders develop over time. So there is a genetic component. Then, of course, the environment you were born in or grew
So
up
your
in.
parents,
You
your
pick up
upbringing, your
Exactly.
experiences.
And then the experiences are what I usually refer to as the lemons that life throws at you. Okay, so
They make you.
certain things will happen. Some traumatic events will make you this way.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you may have 2, 3, 4 siblings raised in different environments. One was knocked down by a car. That person may develop some anxiety, some other issue that the others will not have because they didn't experience the same thing. So there's the part that's played by genes, and then the environment you grew up in, and then, of course, the things that happened to you, the experiences you went through make you this way. So by the time you're 20, 21, it's pretty fixed. And that is why when we go into marriage, we're not marrying children. We are marrying people whose personalities are fixed.
yeah.
So we can't mold them the way we want to. So when we go in with the idea that, I'll change,
change him.
it's not happening.
It's
Yeah.
not happening.
They may,
By
they
fire,
may,
by
they
fire,
may
by
camouflage for a while, because they're trying to get you.
Yeah.
Let's not also be go off the track. Some people, they do fall in love. They meet somebody, they're attracted to the person. They fall in love. Okay, so you fall in love with this person, but then along the line, you start to see these things that you hadn't seen before. So, of course, in couples therapy, one of the first things I do is I ask, what did you find attractive about this person? And I want you to give me 10. Oh, I shouldn't be bringing my secrets out.
No, it's fine.
10 things you liked and 5 things you didn't like when you first met. Honestly,
They
some
struggle.
people struggle to find what they didn't like. But then when you ask them today, since they are in therapy today, you ask them to give you 10 things that they dislike, you will see they're going 20, 30. And in that list, you're going to find the 5 they saw, but they ignored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we don't change.
That's it.
We are who we are. So when you get married,
That's a bit bleak. I would like to think that some people, are committed to growth. And so, you go through seasons where you acknowledge that I'm this, I'm that, I'm that, and I'm going to change, and I'm going to try, I'm going to work at it, I'm going to do the work, I'm going to heal.
I like that. I'm going to work at it.
Yeah.
I'm going
Otherwise,
to
it's
work.
very bleak.
I'm
It's
going
like-
to work at it. So
it will.
work, it's in progress. It's not I worked at it. So you still have to keep working.
Keep working.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't fall. You can backslide.
Yes.
You get it. You can. And that is why sometimes you find that your partner you've been with for 20, 30 years is behaving
Weird.
like, and who is this
Like you don't
person?
know the person.
Maybe because they found themselves in an environment that made them.
Brings that out. of them.
Uh-huh.
This is one of the times when I wish this show was longer.
Yeah.
Because we just have 8 minutes left, and I haven't spoken to Deborah, who has been on the phone lines with us since we started the show. So let me just cross over to her, because I think I want to find out some of the help that is available out there when it comes to women who have been abused. So, hello, Deborah.
Hello, Animwaa.
Hi,
Good
please,
evening.
please forgive us for not coming to you earlier.
Don't worry.
Please forgive us. So, we just want to know, what is the kind of help that is available? Well, first of all, what are some of the things that we can do? Mimi has mentioned planning whilst you're still in the relationship, trying to get yourself together so that the moving is not just such a shock. So what are some of the things that we can do when we're in the relationship to get out? And once we're out, where do we go from here?
It's unfortunate that we have so little time because I really wanted to talk so much about the warning signals.
Okay, why don't
That,
you do... So I think what we'll do is that we'll
women
just
should look
do.
out for.
So we'll do a part 2. Deborah, hello.
Yeah.
So my
Yeah.
producer is just signaling me that we can do a part 2. So we can talk about we can start with the warning signs. So let's run through some of the warning signs, and then next week we can continue, because we didn't really get into the warning signs.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
please do that for us, and then we'll continue next week.
Okay, sure. So I know when you talked about the Ugandan woman who was, burnt by her boyfriend and she ended up dying. So sorry about that. You were asking that, didn't she see any signs? Wasn't there anything that could tell her that, this was where it was going to end? And the truth is that there are always warning signs, warning signals that, sometimes because we are in love, we tend to ignore some of the signs. Or we are so deep, sometimes maybe because we feel the person is the last option. So we tend to ignore some of these signs. But let me just run us through a few of them.
Okay.
So one of the warning signs that women should look out for when they are in their intimate relationships, and meaning that they could become victims of abuse, is one, you feel as if you can't live without that person. You feel as if the person is your all and all. It's like, even when the person is the one who has offended you, you feel as if, oh, my life is coming to an end, And so you always want to your existence is all about that person. You need to watch out. You stop seeing friends or family, in a subtle way. You say, oh, we have a family engagement, and he says you can't go. Oh, my sister is coming to visit, and he says, no, tell your sister not to come. My uncle is dead, we have to go for a phone, and he says, no. Oh, my friend Kukwa is having a birthday party, he says, don't go. In subtle ways, and he makes you think, oh, if you go, do you want to leave me here alone? I want you around me. And in subtle ways, before you know it, you have been cut off from family and friends. It's like now you can't speak to your friends, you can't speak to your family, you are keeping away from everyone because you want to please that person. Be very careful when those things start happening. When you give up activities you enjoy because he doesn't like them. Before the person met you, you are somebody who is fun-loving. Maybe you like going to the beach, and all of a sudden, this person says, oh, me, I'm not a beach person. And for that reason, before you know it, you stopped going to the beach. Okay, you are somebody who likes to go on hikes and all of that. And before you know it, the person says, oh, I'm not a hike person. Or can we just forgo this? And you are forgoing that. So when you begin to give up activities that you enjoy, that fulfill you, that gives you some level of excitement, because of that person, be very careful. And then when you feel as if you have to walk on eggshells around the person to keep the peace. So, every little thing, the person is, agitated, aggressive, and all of that. And so when they are around, you feel as if you need to tiptoe, walk on eggshells. I don't want to say this and make him angry. I don't want to touch this, and then he becomes angry. And you are always watchful. You are, always looking out. Be very careful when you begin to experience those things. Are you afraid of telling him your worries and feelings about the relationship? Be very careful. Because when you go into an intimate partner relationship, the whole idea is the person becomes your companion. Yeah. The person becomes your friend. The person becomes your sister, your brother, your father, your mother. And these are people that under normal circumstances, you would open up and tell, things that are bothering you too. But if you're in that relationship and you realize that you can't do any of those things with this person, you are even afraid to open up and say, oh, I feel this way. You are afraid to even mention that, oh, I said don't put this here, you put this here. You are afraid to even say that when I went to work today, this person made me angry. And you cannot talk and bear out your heart to this person. Be very careful. You stop expressing opinions because he does not always agree with you.
Yeah.
You have to be very careful. Because as a human being, you exist to be able to express yourself.
Yeah.
One of the ways of fulfilling yourself and being the person that you want to be is being yourself and being able to express your feelings to others. But if you realize that you are not able to do that, because every time you express your feelings, he doesn't agree with anything you say.
Yeah.
Even when you are making sense, he says, no, I don't agree. You have to be very careful.
Okay.
You feel that you are the only one who can help him and that you should try to reform him. You see, you realize all have the problems. You can see that this person, it has this shortfalls here and there. And then you think that I am the only person who can help this person to change. You think it behoves on you to take on that burden of reshaping, remolding this individual. You are forgetting about the fact that this person was brought up in a home. The person has picked up attitudes, attributes, behaviors, characters as he grew up from a certain background. And you are also coming from a certain background. And you think that you can use the background that you are coming from to change
to
this
shape
person.
their lives.
You feel as if everybody leaves, it has to be you there for him.
Okay.
You have to
So
watch
Deborah,
out.
so Deborah, I think you've made some really critical points, and I think that we need to take our time and assess each of the points, which is what we'll try and do next week. Because what you're actually doing is talking about the abuser and the abusee, because they're behaviors that, you know, both sides exhibit, which kind of keep the dynamic going. So I would love if you could join us next week, so that we can continue the conversation.
fine.
Also, Dr. May and Mimi, I don't know if you'll be available, but it'll be great if you could come, so that we can really go into the conversation. We'd love to open the phone lines as well, have people call in, share their experiences and all of that. Unfortunately, our time is up. So like I said, we'll continue next week. So just send all your thoughts and everything to us on Facebook. The show is on live. We'll pick your thoughts from then, then we'll address them next week. Thank you to Dr. May, to Mimi, and to Deborah for joining us tonight. My name is Animwaa Anim-Addo. We'll be back next week, Wednesday at 7, handing over for the 8 o'clock news.
Joy 99.7 FM. 8 o'clock.